idea to do a reading vlog secretly. I'm reading A Man Called, I think you say Ove? Ove? I feel like I've heard it Ove, but it's spelled with an O. I actually don't know how to say it, and if anybody knows, please tell me. I know in the Americanized movie, they call him Otto. But anyway, I know Alan has gotten some feedback that the character reminds people of him. So I thought it would be maybe a little bit amusing if, as I was reading it, I recorded my thoughts as his wife on which parts sound like Alan and which parts do not. So I've already read 3 chapters. I'm going to try to go back and comment on those 3, and then from here on out attempt to vlog as I go. We'll see. Of course, this is made slightly more challenging with little man here. And some of my best time to sit down and read is actually when I'm caring for him. So, because I'm sitting down anyway. And I actually realized that people have been talking about the Libby app forever, right? And I just don't normally read ebooks because I really love the feel of holding a book in my hands and turning the pages and being able to flip back and forth and compare things, and that's just my favorite. But with my hands are full right now, right? So my options when I'm feeding him are like consume media some other way, like watch TV. And I just got kind of tired of watching TV. I got a little burnt out. I did watch some, don't get me wrong. But I spend sometimes 4 hours a day sitting here feeding him. So I needed some entertainment. And also, don't get me wrong, sometimes I just stare at my baby because he is precious and I love him. And sometimes I read to him and sing to him, but sometimes he seems very entertained. Like right now, he's studying the curtains very intently. They seem to be fascinating him. And so now is a great time for me to read. Well, I can't turn pages with my hands. So I thought, well, maybe I can read an ebook and I can just swipe. I can kind of do that on my phone because I can sort of have this hand supporting him, or this arm is supporting him, but this hand is sort of free. But my hand got tired and my phone's tiny. So I looked into the accessibility settings on my iPad, and I can turn on voice command and say things like swipe left, swipe right, and it will turn the page for me in an ebook. So all that to say, I finally took advantage of the Libby app, only to discover my library card was expired because it had been so long since I'd used it. So I had to march my little butt down to the library and say, hi, I haven't checked out a book in so long. May I get a new library card? So I have an updated library card. And I logged into the Libby app and checked out this book. I'm excited to read it. The reason why I wanted to read it was twofold. One, first of all, I read My Grandmother Told Me to Tell You She's Sorry and loved it. And then second of all, I've heard a lot about this book and heard that it was really good. And of course, heard the feedback that Ove reminds people of Alan. So without further ado, I'm going to start giving some of my thoughts. So if you're going to read it and haven't yet, I'm not going to be careful about spoilers. I'm so sorry. So you may want to stop here and come back later. Okay, so right off the bat, first page into chapter 1, I have some comments already. One, Alan is way more technologically savvy than this guy is. He would never call something an O-pad. He knows the names of things. But I do like the line, a normal bloody computer. That does totally sound like something Alan would say. Chapter 2. This is actually not a comment about Alan. Ove had put on the coffee percolator using exactly the same amount of coffee as on any other morning, and then drank a cup with his wife. 1 measure for each cup, and 1 extra for the pot. No more, no less. That's exactly how I make my coffee. Ove knows how to make a good pot of coffee. Okay, I have another one. Oh my gosh, there's so many already. It's describing him getting dressed. And while Allan would not wear navy blue trousers and a jacket, wooden clogs, whatever, and he doesn't put his hands in his pockets in a particular way of a middle-aged man, but the part of who expects the worthless world outside to disappoint him. That part. That sounds a little bit like my husband. Okay, now here's something that is totally not like him at all. One, the yelling at the cat, like scram, and calling the cat a pest. Nope. And then the having to do like neighborhood watch. Nope, that's not him. Allan is more of a, oh, I can leave the car doors unlocked because I live in a safe neighborhood. Now, I have convinced him otherwise. Not that I don't think we live in a safe neighborhood, but just doesn't seem like it's wise to leave the car doors unlocked. But he would if it weren't for me. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. Hi guys, I'm back. So I have read up through chapter 5, I think, at this point. And I'm already like all up in my feels about a couple things. So I have also noticed there's quite a few things that remind me of me, not Allan. So that was a little surprising, because that did not occur to me. I was mostly looking for things that reminded me of Allan. So I switched from using the Libby app to using the Kindle app, because I guess once you check out a book on Libby, you can read it with the Kindle app. And so that has allowed me to like highlight things and make notes, which is great because then I can be way more streamlined when I have a chance to sit down and make a quick little video. If Allan was not home for the summer, I might would have a little bit more time to do like a more traditional vlog. However, we're getting scrappy because with little man here and with me working a little bit and Allan home during the day, I don't have a lot of opportunities to make a sneaky vlog, and I kind of want it to be a surprise. I think it'll be funny. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it'll flop. But here we are in chapter 2. And one of Ove's thoughts reminded me of Allan. He says, typical of those B words, they come here and drive up the property prices for honest people. Allan has totally said that kind of stuff about our town, because after the pandemic, a lot of people who wanted less restrictions and like rules about masks and stuff moved to Florida because our governor had really loose, we didn't have a lot of mandates here. We went back to school in person quickly, all the things like that. And that really appealed to a lot of people who were now able to work remotely. So a whole bunch of them moved here, and prices have definitely gone up. And sometimes we feel like we're getting priced out a little bit. So Allan has totally said that. And then this paragraph, Ove's rant about joggers. Oh my gosh, this sounds like Allan. What he can't understand is why they have to make such a big thing of it with those smug smiles on their faces as if they were out there curing pulmonary emphysema. Either they walk fast or they run slowly. That's what joggers do. It's a 40-year-old man's way of telling the world that he can't do anything right. Is it really necessary to dress up as a 14-year-old Romanian gymnast in order to be able to do it? Or the Olympic tobogganing team? Just because one shuffles aimlessly around the block for 3/4 of an hour. That totally sounds like an Allan rant. I love the really specific references. That's part of what makes Allan so comedic, is that he doesn't just say something like, oh, they're wearing ridiculous clothes. He makes a very specific comparison, like a 14-year-old Romanian gymnast. He would totally say something like that. Now, one thing that is not like Allan at all, he is very much looking forward to retirement. And Ove does not seem to understand it or know how to handle his forced retirement, where they're basically letting him go. Allan, I mean, if he had some kind of severance package and was at the age of retirement and had enough money saved up, he would love to be retired. So the whole, like, it'll be good for you to slow down a bit thing, he would love that. And Ove being like, this is not what a normal Tuesday is supposed to look like. Allan would love for his Tuesdays to look like being at home. Just getting stuff done that he wants to do. Another example of like the really specific reference is in the following chapter, in chapter 3. Oops, too far. He says, a lower arm amputee with cataracts could have backed this trailer more accurately than you, Ove mutters as he gets into the car. Now, Allan probably wouldn't mutter it, but he would totally say something like that. And then the idea of like, Ove doubts whether someone who can't park a car properly should even be allowed to vote. Allan has definitely made comments before where he's like, there should just be like a threshold, like a minimum threshold of like competency that you must reach in order to be able to vote. And then the next little paragraph, as civilized people do before backing up with a trailer. Now, I don't think Allan has strong opinions in particular about backing up with a trailer. In fact, I'm pretty confident neither he nor I could do that correctly. I wonder if he'll be mad at me if I tell on him. I'm gonna do it. Allan can't even back his car out of our driveway. Like, there's no trailer. It's just a normal car. He does better with mine that has a backup camera, but still. All he has to do is go straight. Our driveway is straight. And for some reason, he curves so much. He wound up like in our grass the other day and drove over one of my little solar lights that lines the path and crushed it. I don't know how. And I also don't know how I was married to him for 4.5 years before I noticed it. It's just recently that I've been like, why can't you do this? It cracks me up. Okay, y'all. Chapter 4. The line, things don't work when you're not at home. I think Allan would agree with that. I think he would say that to me, honestly. I think he would be like, things don't work when you're not home. In fact, I know that he says things like that. Last summer, was it last summer? Maybe 2 summers ago. I went to visit my best friend in Oklahoma. Her name is Claire. And I went to visit her for about a week. And I remember Allan being like, I miss you so much. And also just like things fall apart because I do tend to, I'm more detail oriented than he is. So things get a little chaotic when I'm not around here. Okay, now here's where it starts to sound, where Ove starts to sound a little bit like me with his concern about we can't use more heat than we have to because it adds up over time to like thousands of dollars. I guess kroner? 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 Kronor? I don't know how to say it for sure, but whatever currency is appropriate. He doesn't want to turn the heat up. He doesn't want his wife to turn the heat up because it'll cost him so much more money. That is totally me. I was literally now we live in the South, so we're not concerned about turning the heat up. We're concerned about turning the AC up in the summers. And let me tell you, when Allan is home all day, our electricity bill skyrockets. And some of it is that it's the hotter months of the year, so it's just gonna happen naturally. We have to run the AC more. But I was literally just today getting on to him for leaving our sunroom door open because our sunroom is on a separate little AC unit. And when we're not out there and that little AC unit is not working, our AC is not going to be able to cool it, but it's going to keep trying to. And all it's going to do is let the warm air in and make it harder to cool our house. So anyway, that's me in our relationship. Okay. Is it time to burp you? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so the baby's asleep. but Allan is occupied having a meeting with the Discord admins. So I snuck back here. He probably thinks I'm like putting laundry away or tidying or something. So I'm going to see if I can sneak in just a little bit more. If you hear kind of a in the background, that's the baby monitor. But I wanted to just actually give a quick shout out. I'm just sitting on the floor of the baby's room in case you're wondering why the angle's weird. Ugh. My cat Claudius is trapped with the baby. BRB. Having rescued our clingy cat, I have returned. He likes to slip in there the second you open the door and does not realize that you're leaving again and closing the door. So he's smart enough to be able to figure out where you are, but dumb enough to not have learned the pattern of when I'm dropping the baby off, I'm not staying in there. So you're welcome to come, but when I leave, you may want to follow me out because I'm shutting the door behind me. Anyway, picking up with chapter 4. Another total Allanism. Just like the really specific comparisons. He's describing he and his wife kind of going back and forth about how to wear his suit. And she's like, oh, you should leave that top one undone if you're not wearing a tie. He protests that he's not some urchin who's renting out deck chairs. I just think that's, again, just the specific comparison is so Allan. Now, he hates suits and would never want to he would love to have a button unbuttoned. So there's that. But maybe the pettiness might be a little bit Allan too. Does that mean to say? I think it's true. He's just like a little bit petty. Now, don't get me wrong. I can be super petty. And I will totally tell on myself if I need to. If y'all don't believe me, I will tell you a story and you'll be like, wow, Christina, that was real petty. But I'm going to save that unless y'all protest that you don't believe me. I also like the line about, he's talking about the 55 zone and, oh, sorry, not 55, the 35 mile per hour zone where people zip through really fast and it annoys him. And he says, among their own houses, they put up speed bumps and signs, number signs. Yeah, a darnable number of signs about children playing. But when driving past other people's houses, it was apparently less important. Now, Allan wouldn't necessarily care about that part as much, but this next thing, Ove had repeated this to his wife every time they drove past over the last 10 years. Let me tell you, Allan 100% has to repeat certain things that he doesn't understand. And so there are certain triggers that I know exactly what he's about to say. So, for example, one of them, every time that we watch the TV show The Chosen, it's just in case you don't know what it is a like a creative interpretation of the story of the 12 disciples in the New Testament and Jesus Christ. So it's sort of imagining what they might have really been like. And anyway, of course, they lived in a Roman occupied territory, so there are Roman characters, and it drives Allan bonkers that the Roman characters refer to each other, and I'm gonna get this wrong and he's gonna have to come correct me later, but they call each other, like, there's a character Gaius and everybody calls him Gaius, and I don't remember the terms, but Allan's like, nobody would call you that, like, you don't go by that name, you would go by insert other name here. So I guess there's like a set number of this kind of name and a set number of that kind of name that were used during the day and time, and you just didn't go by those names. Nobody called you that. It was just more, it existed, but it was not what people were referred to as. So he gets really upset about that. Okay, then this whole paragraph about the black Mercedes. Y'all, that's me. So actually, this is a great example. If you don't believe that I'm petty, I will do this. I will totally do this. Where if someone is, what do you call it? Tailgating me, I may not like signal with my brake lights like Ove does, but I will slow down. That's my favorite part. Mercedes gave him a burst of its high beams again. Ove slowed down. The Mercedes sounded its horn. Ove lowered his speed to 15 miles per hour in a 35. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. I was like, this is me. Now, I wouldn't take it. Excuse me. So tired. I wouldn't take it as far as Ove did when he runs into him in the parking lot. So later on in this same chapter, and when he's in the supermarket, no, he's at the florist's and he's asking about the flowers and he's trying to kind of like haggle and get a better price. That is not Allan or me. In fact, that kind of stuff makes Allan deeply uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable. When we go to a restaurant, if he orders something and let's say that like his salad was missing the croutons or something, he would never ever be like, excuse me, can you like take this back and give me another salad? Or if his steak was cold, he would not be like, I need you to send this back. And he just gets so uncomfortable. So I think the only reason he would ever say anything would be maybe if they brought him the entirely wrong meal, probably out of shock. He'd be like, this isn't what I ordered. But even then he would feel so bad having to say anything. So the whole like, it didn't take long for a rumble to start up. Oh my gosh, Allan would be like, ooh, if anybody was trying to start a rumble while he's there. All right, y'all, the ending of this chapter. Again, please do not be watching this if you haven't read it and want to read it, because I am just spoiler, like I do not have the capacity to think about spoilers while I'm doing this. I'm so sorry. So just assume that it's going to be chock full of spoilers. The ending of this chapter was so, like, I was sitting on the couch with Allan nearby. I was like, ah! Like I genuinely teared up. It's been 6 months since she died, but Ove still inspects the whole house twice a day to feel the radiators and check that she hasn't sneakily turned up the heating. Oh, and then in the next chapter, in 5, and it says he was a man of black and white, and she was color, all the color he had. Y'all. I like to think Allan would say something like that about me. Probably not, but maybe. Maybe. Anyway, that is a beautiful sentiment and made me very emotional. The whole thing about Ove not liking small talk that's mentioned at the beginning of chapter 5, yep, that's Allan. And then this little part midway through the chapter, no, it's towards the beginning where it's kind of talking about his dad and his childhood some. The whole line about Ove and his father never talked excessively, but they liked each other's company. They sat in silence on either side of the kitchen table and had ways of keeping busy. Allan finds it actually very cozy and comforting to be near each other but doing different things. So I think that that's relatable for him, probably. And Allan's dad actually feels similar to the way Ove's dad is described, where he's just like an honest, hardworking man who works with his hands and is very smart, and just well respected. And Allan does have a lot of respect for his dad. Now, one thing that's different is that it seems like Ove picked up a lot of the like, you work with your hands, you do things yourself kind of stuff. Allan and I, neither one of us are do-it-yourselfers. We are not good at that. We just feel in over our heads when it comes to doing things ourselves. So we would much rather find an expert who knows what they're doing and pay them a reasonable fee. Okay, and then the end of this chapter, when Ove's telling the vicar that he's not going to go to church anymore, it's not because Ove did not believe in God, he explained to the vicar, but because in his view, this God seemed to be a bit of a bloody swine. So Allan and I are Christians. We do go to church. It's how we met. It's a really big part of our lives. But there was a very big period of time where I think Allan would have said this exact same thing. Where he was like, I believe in God. I just think God hates me. I don't know why he hates me, but I feel like he does. So I think he could relate to that too. And then the chapter ends with that line again. People said Ove saw the world in black and white, but she was color. All the color she had. Oh, you guys. So that's as far as I've gotten so far. So I'm only 14% in, and I love it. I love it so much. I think I really like, what is it, contemporary fiction, where it's not fantasy. It's just people, stories about people. I really like character stories that focus on the character more than the plot. I mean, obviously there has to be a plot or I'll be bored out of my mind, but anyway, so quick shout out though, because I have been reading this off of my iPad Pro on my Kindle app, and marking it up with my Apple Pencil in my really nice Logitech case with a keyboard that Alan got me. He got all of this for me because right before Atticus was born, actually, because he knows I hate spending money on myself, but he also knows how supportive I am when he wants to invest, particularly in new technology, like our TV gave out. And, you know, it's really important for him to have like a big TV because he's like, I can't see the tiny little text when I'm playing my video games. And that's a really important way that he unwinds and relaxes. And we were about to have a baby and the TV busted. So I was like, we better go get one because you're gonna need ways to like regulate. You're gonna need ways to relax, and this is important. And I guess it just, maybe that meant a lot to him and inspired him to go buy this for me, because every time we've been in Best Buy lately, he's seen me eyeing them. I had an iPad that I bought. No, I didn't buy it. It was actually given to me as a graduation present when I finished grad school from my mom and my sister in 2016. And I have not upgraded it, and it started kind of slowing down. It's showing its age, but I use it for work. I play from it at church. So, and I use it with lessons too. I can pull music up on it and prop it up on the music rack, and students can just play something right then and there. So anyway, all that to say, Alan got this for me, and it's so nice. So shout out to him. He has a very generous spirit. Okay, I'm gonna read some more, and I'm not gonna film myself reading because I don't think that would be interesting footage, and also that increases the likelihood that Alan's gonna figure out what I'm doing, and I really want this to be a surprise. So, all that to say, thanks for watching so far. I'll catch up with you soon.